But I do want to start off with the Jets, as this team, they lose by 7. But as you said, Leegan, they were up by 10 points, 6 out of 7 losses the Jets have had, but this is probably their most encouraging out of those 6 losses. They were able to get some turnovers on the defense. Tua still able to put up 31 with Duke Johnson running the ball very well, which is probably just an epitome of this Jets season to see Duke Johnson run all over them. Zach Wilson didn't play so bad, had the rushing touchdown, no turnovers for him.
About Zach Wilson, just moving away from the COVID stuff, which is obviously very serious, and obviously we hope it all gets resolved. But with Zach Wilson, look, and you mentioned this, Andrew, and it really bothered me, and anyone who follows me on Twitter, which I don't know how many of you are listening to this do, but give me a follow if you want. But the point is, at Michael Leegan, give me a follow. No, anyway, the point is, I was very upset. I tweeted out a lot of the coverage of the Jets' loss post Miami was very much focusing on Zach, saying that he didn't play well. And one thing that bothered me in particular was there was a lot of focus on a comment that he made post game. He was asked by a reporter essentially like how he felt about the fact the offense has generally struggled since his return from injury, which, to be honest, I don't really agree with. I mean, yeah, they had a great game with Mike White, but then the offense played really poorly against Buffalo. Joe Flacco didn't exactly light it up against Miami at home. And then Zach picked up a win in Houston. And, look, I understand the offense isn't great, but I don't really feel like they were laying it up there for a bit. And obviously the offense overall has improved compared to the early part of the season. But to say that Zach has caused this dramatic decrease in offensive production, I think is just patently false. You obviously have to take into account the fact that you don't have Elijah Moore. You don't have Corey Davis, who's out for the year. You don't have George Fant. He wasn't at left tackle last week. Obviously, Mekhi Becton's been out all year. So no focus seems to be made on that in terms of the offensive struggles. A quarterback can only do so much by himself. And again, I don't think, and a lot of it was this focus on this comment he made when he was asked about these struggles. And he said, yeah, I don't worry about any of that stuff. When he was asked if he doesn't feel any responsibility. And look, I don't really understand why people are making such a big deal out of that. I mean, could he have given a better answer? Maybe, but what did you want him to do? Like put all the, just to bash himself? I've obviously been in pretty much all of Zach's pressers at home, at least. He's always said the right things. I've always been very impressed by the way that he handles the media. And to me, to make a bit like a mountain out of a molehill with this comment saying that he really messed up and shouldn't have made this comment like some beat reporters are alluding to, I just think it's absurd. And in terms of the comments about his play on the field, like I said, no one is taking into account the fact they're missing many offensive pieces. It seems to be that all the struggles being placed on him, despite the fact that he had a really solid half against Miami. And in the second half, I think more the reason why he didn't perform is because the offense, the pass protection was putrid most of the game, particularly bad in the second half. And also the defense for the Jets couldn't get off the field. So it's hard to get an offensive rhythm when you can't get the ball. And again, I find the Jets had so many issues on Sunday. I know it was a close game, but all the focus seemed to be on Zach Wilson. And there's no mention of the missing pieces on offense. There's no mention of the fact that the defense was just putrid in this game. You mentioned Duke Johnson, who was just signed out the Miami practice squad. Give you a little, TBT for a Dolphin fan comparison if you want. He's looking like Larry Zonk out there. Dolphins great running back, or you want to go even more recent, Ricky Williams or something like. They're making Duke Johnson look insane, and that really falls on the Jets' run defense, which was awful. So look, I know I said a lot of things here, but let me just sum it up. Zach's getting too much hate, and I just don't really think it's deserved at all, especially because I think he played well, and that just has really bothered me post the Miami loss.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. I think he is getting a lot of hate for not just the game against the Dolphins, but for the entire season. Like you said, they had I believe it was a 7-point lead going into the half, 17-10 at the end of the second half. And then the second half, he just wasn't hitting receivers. You mentioned the pass rush of that Miami defense. And yeah, I believe they had their offenses on the field for 10.5 minutes. The Jets just could not get anything going against that defense. And you mentioned all the injuries that the Jets are facing. What is Zach Wilson supposed to do when he has no one out there guarding him, protecting him at the line of scrimmage, or even to throw to? The guy can't throw the ball to himself out there. I'm sure he'd want to, but he's getting all this hate, which some of it is, don't get me wrong, definitely deserved.
I don't mean to cut you off, Mike. I do want to say, look, he deserves to be criticized. He hasn't had an amazing rookie year. He's not Justin Herbert. I mean, he's played very poorly. Andrew, you mentioned the Saints game. That was the worst game he's played all year. No turnovers, but just disgusting. He's played very bad, but you want to criticize him when he can be criticized. That's fair. But to me, the Miami game was just not a game to criticize. But go ahead, Mike.
No, 100%. I was just going to mention that in this season so far, he's at 1,900 yards, 6 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. There is definitely some hate that is deserved for Zach Wilson's play as of late, but I'm on your side on this one. I don't really think he had that bad of a performance against the Dolphins, minus the second half. I think there is some things that could be said about his play during the second half. But the first half, I mean, 10 points in the first quarter. Is that the first time the Jets have done this all season?
Yeah.
I mean, Giants, same thing. They have 1 touchdown, I think 2 touchdowns in the first quarter all season. It's just embarrassing that this is what New York football came down to. We're always blaming the quarterbacks for stuff, but the quarterbacks can't do everything themselves. The Giants are supposed to have this iconic second overall, number 2 overall pick. Saquon Barkley obviously hasn't done much. Jets in the same boat. I mean, Zach Wilson can't do everything himself, and he's going to keep getting this hate until he succeeds. And it sucks that this is how it is, but that's, to me, just like the fans just need someone to put all this loss and putrid football onto. And honestly, it just always comes down to the quarterback and the head coach to me.
Yeah. I mean, look, I just, sorry, Andrew.
It's just unfair. I mean, I will say it's the only thing. It's unfair to put it all on the quarterback. 11 guys on the offense.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, look, it's the nature of the NFL. It doesn't matter what team you root for or whatever. It's always going to fall on the quarterback. And I think we all agree that's not fair, but I just think it's particularly unfair given the fact that Zach played well. And, Mike, you mentioned the struggles in the second half. I mean, they had Connor McDermott, who's a third-string tackle out there at left tackle. He's like a turnstile. I mean, defensive linemen are just going right past him. Zach's always got pressure in his face. And, these wide receivers, like I already said it, no Elijah Moore, no Corey Davis, who frankly are the best receivers. Keelan Cole's fine as a third. I like Braxton Berrios. He's very good overall. I think he's a good return game. But I mean, the Jets receivers are getting no separation. And there were a couple times Zach hit a couple guys in the hands. Denzel Mims has just been a massive disappointment in year 2. In particular, there was like a 3rd and 10 play or something. Zach deals with the pressure, hits Mims right in the hand. He drops the ball. So, and it was a decent coverage, but no one was getting open. He's just not getting help from anyone. But it just seems that no one is really acknowledging that. It just really frustrates me. And you mentioned the fans wanting to blame someone. Don't get me wrong. I do think there are Jet fans who are blaming Zach. But I find, and again, I don't want to attack anyone in particular or like criticize anyone unfairly. But to me, it's the fans. Again, this is Twitter. It seems the fans overall tend to be very supportive of Zach. The criticism that I see really tends to come more from other journalist media, which is their right. I'm not saying they don't have a right to criticize, but I just wish that we could have better perspective on what the actual struggles were, because anyone who watches that game, including members of the media who it's their job to watch that game, I would like to think that they saw the other things I thought too. And I haven't read every article. I haven't watched every clip. I'm sure they mentioned these other things, but it just seems to me so many of the back page headlines were about Zach this, Zach that. And it's just not fair in my opinion.
No, I definitely, agree. And look, I mean, Zach Wilson definitely, like, as you guys have said, he hasn't played very good this season in a lot of areas. Last week, though, I mean, it's definitely a step in the right direction, whatever you want to call, this Jets season. At least that's a positive thing. And to put it as a negative, look, he didn't show out. He didn't put up 400-yard passing yards, 4 touchdowns. It's an amazing game, but it was a step in the right direction. And I think the big thing with Zach Wilson coming in, like, if he was going to be successful, I feel like, especially year 1, you needed to have the supporting cast around him. You needed to have good coaching around him. And that just hasn't been the case so far. And look, we'll see going forward. I think injury is a big part of that. I mean, Elijah Moore looks like a stud out there. So hopefully he comes back healthy next year. But look, this Jets team, it's not very good. And I bet next week we're going to come back and probably say the exact same thing.